To create is to give life to our ideas. Dreaming takes us beyond reality, opening doors to the impossible. I was going to talk about emerging technologies and also about artificial intelligence, but I see that we lost power. At the current pace of the economy, it will take us 105 years to reach a per capita GDP similar to that of Uruguay. That is to say, very likely no one in this auditorium will be alive to seek a significant economic change in the case of Ecuador. The child born today, November 9, 2024, will have, under current circumstances, 77 years of life. In that case, probably, the child born on November 9, 2024, will also not be alive to see a significant economic change in the country. Very likely, his family, through their own efforts, will ensure that this child has opportunities in life. Very likely, this child will have alternatives in education, technology, and globalization. And as much as possible, with family efforts, this child born on November 9, 2024, will have a privileged education. Very likely, he will hear topics like, my neural chip was hacked, my robot broke down, or we got stranded on the road due to lack of oxygen. An additional topic: when this child born on November 9, 2024, becomes a teenager, given the situation of poverty in the country, he might confuse Marconi Aurelio with a Netflix character. He might remember Reggaeton Champagne as one of the classics of the 21st century. And still, he will believe that the national anthem of Ecuador is the best or the second best after the Marseillaise. Unfortunately, this child, born on November 9, 2024, will have to live in two realities. A reality aided by his parents of globalization, technology, economy, culture, and a country with an environment where all statistics predict poverty. This is an indicator that can start to be mentioned, which is the Gini index, where in Ecuador we have a rating of 45 out of 100. Meaning one of the most inequitable countries on the planet, along with the Latin American region. So what can we do to make the environment of this child born on November 9, 2024, different and suitable for well-being? And it is then that we have to look for alternatives within what becomes part of history. History tells us about certain development superpowers that we can really use, so that the future of the child born today might be different. Let's imagine the first alternative use of technology we had when man invented agriculture. Extremely important alternatives that awaken the first development superpower, which is communication. When fire was invented, I see the concern of the hunters and gatherers who lost their jobs. Currently, people had better chances of having better nutrition tools for their brains, but culture was also invented, opening up the possibility to converse, to connect. From what Harari says, he mentions the part about gossip. An interesting alternative to share and connect and create new ideas. Important options for this superpower to manage to create the first empires. The second superpower related to communication also focuses on what comes to be the creation of writing. Let's imagine that gossip was millennia old. In 1798, a young soldier of K, Napoleon, discovers the Rosetta Stone, and we have millennia-old information about the pharaohs of Egypt. Alternatives that later were established with the creation of the radio, where communication was instantaneous and between continents. All of this thanks to Marconi. An interesting alternative today is that we have 8 billion people who can connect instantly using the internet. The first superpower for development, then, is the aspect of communication, part of human communication. The second superpower for development, so that this child who is born on November 9, 2024, has a better future, is commerce. And if one really reviews the history of humanity, the best alternatives for man occur when commerce is consolidated globally. Let's imagine the Pax Romana. Let's imagine the Manila Galleon when America was connected with Asia. Let's think about the Silk Road, or why not, the current free trade agreements. Let's consider that the superpower of communication, commerce, also merges with technology. How can we explain that the kingdom closed off for several decades feudal and very agricultural in just 18 years truly becomes an interesting topic of a global empire? Well, it happens due to the Meiji dynasty and this reconstruction that sought knowledge wherever it was available. Important alternatives are also based on the development of present-day China, the second largest economy in the world, where special economic zones truly underpin global trade. How can we really not mention the development of the sixth largest economy in the world with Kemal Atatürk, where the westernization of culture led this country to seek and find its destiny in this very century? How can we not remember this small fishing port under the leadership of Lee Kuan Yew, where we truly sought interesting alternatives in the Singapore area? A fishing port that becomes a fantastic alternative for fintech and globalization. But this has also happened in the history of Ecuador. Let's think about what our environment and our current, present, and future would have been like if we had really been able to have more alternatives, such as the incorporation of bananas and cattle by Galo, Lazo Square, or why not if we had had a better technological and scientific environment. When Rodriguez Labandera truly discovers the production of the first submarine in the world called the hippopotamus. Or why not if we had been much more humane if we had aligned the part related to what Muñoz Borrero did, rescuing several Jews from the Holocaust. These alternatives of commerce, communication, and technology are also based on human will. And a fantastic example of this is Rwanda. How can we explain a country that experienced a very complicated genocide in the 90s with 1.5 million deaths, that has no access to the sea, with 60% poverty, which is currently ranked number 38 globally in the labor spaces indicator and in what is the general business environment? Human will then, along with knowledge and technology, will help us transcend so that the future of this child born on November 9th, 2024 is different. Thinking a little, in economic theory, there is an indicator called the total production frontier, which tries to explain alternatives for finite goods. That is to say, Ecuador, countries, economies having finite goods, can only expand their possibilities with the proper use of technology, and in that sense, the superpower of development and technology is based on the use of artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. And why will emerging technologies or artificial intelligence be able to help expand the total production frontier? It is because if we really want to have a good industry, we need to have an accumulation of knowledge. If we want to make the best beer in the world, we should have 5,000 years of history and accumulated knowledge. If we want to have the best textile industry on the planet, we should have 3,000 years of history in that sector. If we really want to have alternatives for a current automotive industry, we should have around 200 years of knowledge alternatives in that industry as such. And it is there that industries of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence could precisely help in the development so that the future of this child born today is different. We are not going to achieve significant changes in the 10th position of violence in Latin America, where Ecuador is currently, if we insist on spending on police and military. Possibly it will be the extensive use of data and the use of predictions in science, of artificial intelligence. Those who truly achieve significant changes. Let's consider that the global evil of corruption, where Ecuador ranks 115th out of 180 economies, will not end solely with draconian laws, but with the extensive use of algorithms, like the anti-corruption algorithm, something that is currently possible. The traffic in Quito will not be resolved with the vision of one or two mayors, but truly with the extensive use of data that genuinely create pattern alternatives to make the city much more efficient. Currently, Quito ranks 157th out of 180 cities. And even issues like cancer, a global ailment, will very likely have a real solution alternative in this century, given that scientists and doctors can currently read 1 or 2 papers a day, while artificial intelligence can read thousands. And in that sense, artificial intelligence will help us solve complex problems. But inclusion will also truly be part of this artificial intelligence topic that we will enjoy in this century, as artificial intelligence will enable people who currently cannot see to do so, and those who cannot speak to have a voice. Inclusion even transcends life alternatives, as this child born on November 9th, 2024. If they lose their father, will have the possibility of having an artificial intelligence clone where the dreams, alternatives, and thoughts of their father are present. Why have 1 or 2 advisors in the presidency if we can have the wealth of economists, thinkers, and alternatives in an artificial intelligence so that governmental options are much more efficient? And then we have to ask ourselves, why not do it? And in that sense, there is a basic condition that should be something we all should consider at this moment: the intense digitalization of our lives, the digitalization of the economy, measured by the Network Readiness Index. How to explain that an economy that had $400 per capita, South Korea, is currently ranked 7th in global digitalization, while Ecuador is ranked 85th. The child born on November 9th, 2024, will probably have alternatives in emerging technologies to change their future. And perhaps the young person born on November 9th, 2024, now at 77 years old, will very likely seek alternatives in space. The child will face a dichotomy. They will have to choose one of these 2 paths: to still think that changes are not possible and live in resilience in a country where all statistics say they will be in poverty, or take the second path, which is to make things happen. I will finish by mentioning something shared with us by H.G. Wells. We are such small creatures, so fragile and weak, small and tiny animals. And if we truly are animals, then we must seize every little crumb of happiness and above all live in sovereignty. Thank you very much.